Welcome to another episode of Chat Sports Talk, and welcome to Week 2 of the 2024 NFL season. Week 1's back behind us. Some interesting aspects transpired. Some really great games. I mean, I watched a few of those, and a lot of them are really, really good. So we should be heading into a very a wild season, to say the least. And some other news popped up that I'm going to cover briefly. I'm going to kind of go over a little bit of review of last week and how I did, and then we'll go dive into Week 2. So let's just go ahead and do a quick recap of Week 1, as I can't seem to talk right now if you haven't quite caught that. I didn't want to go in 10-6. I felt pretty good about that. I started off extremely rough. I'll start off last Thursday with the Ravens in Kansas City. I picked the Ravens. It was close all the way to the end, and the toe, just the toe length. That's all it was. Yeah, I know, bad joke, but that's all it was. If Ravens receiver actually kept his foot in bounds, Baltimore's going to go for 2. So they're going to go for the win. So Harbaugh was going, no, we're going for it regardless. So I give kudos to Harbaugh for this trying. Great game all around. You couldn't really tell who was going to really take the lead in this aspect. Derrick Henry didn't really start running. It wasn't until Lamar Jackson started running did the running game actually take flight with the Ravens. And I think that's a bad sign of things to come. I still got the Ravens going all the way, but Kansas City looks like a juggernaut right now. Look like they got better in the offseason, so it's going to be a long road ahead. Then we head down to Brazil, where the Eagles took on the Packers, and this was just a back-and-forth game between these two. Barkley was actually on point. He had 3 total touchdowns, over 100 yards rushing, exactly what Philadelphia needs. Hurst is still hurting the Phillies offense because they ended up having turnovers. But I think the Packers season is done. During the final drive, Jordan Love actually injured his lower leg, turned out to be MCL sprain. They have not placed him on the IR, which I think could be a mistake. I think you should just put him on IR, just rest him. But, the aspects for Green Bay have gone downhill significantly because they got the castaway from the Titans as their backup. So we'll see how that one plays out. But, yeah, that's how those 2 games, I went going 0-2. Now, start of Sunday's games. There's a couple stories came out on top. Dak signed his extension. He's going to finish his time frame in Dallas unless they trade him during that time frame. So I think Jerry Jones is looking for a Super Bowl win or at least an NFC Championship game appearance, something he hasn't seen since the early 90s. And he wants to go back there. So the Cowboys fans. Not me. I mean, I want to go back to the 80s with the Bears, but hey, at least we made it to a Super Bowl. Just couldn't contain Peyton Manning, but that's another story. And the other one comes out of Miami. Tyrek Hill ended up getting arrested by Miami-Dade Police, pretty much for resisting arrest. And then Cassius Campbell also got arrested, I guess interfering with the police matter. Basically, it boils down to Tyrek Hill was going to the game, speeding. He's trying to hurt me get there. Most people are always in a damn hurry. Body cam footage. Initially, I blame Tyrek Hill because he's being very combative. Yelling at the cops, don't bang on my window. Well, you have to get their attention to roll down your window to get information. And he's like dismissing them. It's like, all right, do what you got to do. Give me the ticket. Then tries to roll the window back up. Well, the cop was still there. And they're like, no, we're not. No, the window stays down. However, the situation escalated way too quickly. and ended up pulling him out and throwing him on the ground and handcuffing him. Two other players trying to figure out what's going on, being cool, calm, collective, not aggravating the situation whatsoever. But the same cop who pulled out Tyrek Hill and manhandled him handled Campbell as well. And there's the problem in this whole situation. It was both parties were in the wrong. Hill was very combative. He was annoyed about the whole situation. He's like, how dare you pull me over? I'm Tyrek fucking Hill. Then the cop's like, I don't care who you are. I'm going to drag you out of the car. And that one cop continued to maintain, your level is 1 to 10. His level was at 15. He was always amped up. His ego took over. Maybe some other things took over. But he ended up getting released, made to the stadium time. But we're going to start off in Atlanta first, where Steelers came to town. Russell Wilson was not able to go. Justin Fields got the start. Justin Fields did what he's been normally doing. Decent performance. Didn't turn the ball over. But no touchdowns. That is a major thing. That no touchdowns whatsoever. It was all field goals and defense that really kept this team in there. Kirk Cousins just looked out of sync and out of whack with the team. Especially the second half, they couldn't do anything. I think it's bad signs for Atlanta. But I have a feeling they will correct the ship eventually. We have to Buffalo and see how the Bills will transpire without their former star receiver. And they struggled immensely without Stephon Diggs. And Arizona was actually leading the Bills at half, 17-10, which was unprecedented until Josh Allen just took the team on his shoulders and just went, scoring 4 touchdowns. He ran for 2, threw for 2. He took this team on his shoulders and ran with it. Literally. And the defense came up towards the end, held on, beat the Cardinals 34-28. Give me my first win of the weekend. We up to Chicago. Caleb Williams' debut. Didn't go as planned for Caleb Williams. Not great stats. He did have some moments. He had a rushing touchdown. And Tennessee was actually up 17-3. It was the special teams and defense that came through for Chicago. Block punt that turned to a touchdown and just changed the whole trajectory of the game. And Chicago was able to win 24-17. Then over to the jungles of Cincinnati. And I don't know. It was just that Jamar Chase was on the field. He has no contract. Very ineffective. Joe Burrow, pretty much ineffective. New England with Jacoby Brissett was just too much for him. And the Patriots beat Cincinnati 16-10. I think Joe Cool needs to get away from that bleach blonde hair he decided to dye his hair with and go back to his natural color, because that team was not functioning at all. Then we're over to Indianapolis, where the Texans came to town, and it was a great game between these two. Houston is going to be a beast. Stephon Diggs and Joe Mixon. Excellent acquisitions in the offseason for C.J. Stroud. It's going to make this offense even more dangerous. The defense showed flaws, but held strong. Richardson, ineffective, but when he's able to make those deep throws, oh my Lord, this boy has a cannon. But it was not enough as the Texans edged out Indianapolis 29-17. We head down to Miami, and the Jaguars went down there, South Beach, and went to play. But fumbles were a huge issue. Bigsby had a fumble. He was literally going to score a touchdown. And he coughed up the ball. Yeah, you can't do that. And Miami was able to wait until the final seconds of the fourth, kick a 52-yarder to win it 20-17. But Jacksonville is going to be a very tough opponent, and Miami is vulnerable. Saints demolished Carolina. The Giants, another team that looks like the Panthers, and got beat up by the Vikings. The Chargers. Somebody in my last comment said, the Raiders are going to win. Didn't happen. LA's able to win 22-10, so might want to rethink things in Vegas right there. Up in the Pacific Northwest, Seattle hosted Denver. Very good game between Geno Smith and Bo Nix. Geno was a little bit better, winning 26-20. Dallas was way too much for Cleveland. None of these games that I lost, and it was just Myles Garrett was a factor in the beginning, and once they figured out how to nullify him, that was it. The game was over. Deshaun Watson was horrible. He had no time, basically. But, yeah, there's going to be problems in Cleveland. Tampa Bay just stayed in front of Washington in their matchup. Detroit and the Rams put on a pristine matchup at night, and going to overtime where Detroit just took the ball and literally ran it almost the entire overtime on that drive. The only drive in overtime, and then I hear one of the announcers, "Well, it's not fair. The Rams didn't get a chance." I'm like, it's a team bloody sport. It was up to the defense to stop the offense. They failed to do so. But still, Stafford and Goff put up a nice performance. Each one of them had some really dumb throws. I think Stafford had the better day, over 300 yards passing, but it was all the legs of Montgomery that really determined this factor. And then on Monday night, the re-debut of Aaron Rodgers with the Jets. And he had a good drive in the beginning, and after that, it was all San Francisco. McCarthy couldn't start, so they put a little pressure on Mason, who ran with the opportunity, almost 150 yards on the ground and a touchdown. Brock Purdy was just effective with the ball. He didn't have to get super creative. There were over 230 yards passing, and it was just phenomenal to see San Francisco just dominate both sides of the ball against the Jets. And the Jets look like a good team anyway. It's a very good defense. Got out-muscled here and there, but should bode well for them for the rest of the season. And then I'm going 10-6, kind of split, those early games, lost, the first two games of the week, but ended strong, losing one of the last of the late games. Time to head off to Week 2, excuse me, as we kick off with the Thursday night matchup on Amazon Prime. The Bills and the Dolphins square off. Now, looking at these two teams from previous week, both of them struggled. So it's trying to see which one is going to transpire and take the next step. Miami has too many weapons on offense. Buffalo needs to find something else to help Josh Allen. The defenses, I don't know. I just, these games, I kind of go back and forth on which one. And right now the line has it Miami at 2.5. And for me, I think this is a coin toss between the two. I don't think neither one of them has really stepped up and say, hey, we're the ones. Even though I had my preseason pick was Miami taking the division. I think Stephon Diggs is going to be a bigger hole in Buffalo than what people think. Or I think people already think there's going to be a hole. But I think Allen's going to try to ensure that it doesn't become too much of a hole. With the game being down in Miami, even though it's at night, it's going to be a little more humid down there. I give it more to the Dolphins, but I really do think it's going to be a close game, so Miami. Sunday, we head up to the Big D, and Dallas play host to the Saints. The Saints had a good matchup against Carolina. Nothing to tote their horn against. Dallas had a better showing against Cleveland, better defense, better offense. Dallas is favored by 6.5. I think should be no issue. I think Dallas will go in there and win that game quite easily. Dallas. Head up to back up to Detroit, where Tampa Bay comes to town. And Tampa Bay had an excellent game against Washington last week. Didn't really blow the doors off, but Jeff Daniels is going to be a star if he continues the way he is with Washington. Baker is always Baker, but he had a 4-touchdown day, almost 300 yards passing. So I wouldn't put it past him. Detroit, I think, as long as they continue to run with Montgomery, is always going to be a good thing, and there's enough talent there with the rest of the receivers in Detroit that's going to make it hard. That defense is going to be a monster for Baker to overcome. The line's 7. I'll push back on that. I would take Tampa Bay for the points, but overall victory, I'm going with Detroit. To Green Bay, where Jordan Love is out. Told you he had that MCL sprain down in Brazil, so he's going to be out for a foreseeable future, or 4 to 6 weeks. And there's a lot of questions. Richardson actually had a decent game against Houston, against a very good defense, and Green Bay definitely has a very good defense. I just know how much that offense is going to really play a factor in this. Indianapolis defense is no slouch either. Right now, the line has the Colts by 3. I have a feeling this is going to be, a bad start to the Green Bay season. Nothing against them. Injuries do kind of hamper teams all the time, and not having Jordan Love will hamper them. I'm going with the Colts as well. Now we have the Jets landing in Music City after their West Coast letdown. I can see the Jets going in there and handling business. Jets is a good team all around. I have a feeling they'll make a nice run for the playoffs. I think they will miss it just slightly, but the defense won't let them down. Tennessee is going to be a opportunistic feast for them to kind of do strafer runs on. And then the Jets are favored by 3.5. I like it. Jets as well. Now we head up to the snow crawl up there in Minnesota as they play host to the 49ers. The 49ers had a very good game against the Jets, a very good defense. Now they got to take on a pretty potent offense in Minnesota. Sam Darnold actually shown he's quite effective. Of course, that was against the Giants. So I don't know. But right now, San Francisco's favored by 6. If Mason has to start again, I think it's going to be no issue. McCaffrey definitely gives him a dual threat in that running back area because he also is a effective pass catcher from the backfield. But I will also give it to San Francisco to win in Minnesota. They got the Seahawks heading over to Foxborough to take on the Patriots. Now, the Patriots shocked everyone last week by going to the jungle and trapping the Bengals and escaping with the victory. They're going to give Seattle more than they can handle. Right now, Seattle's favored by 3.5. I think it's going to be less than that, especially if Stevenson's able to continue to run the way effectively as he did last week. They'll give the Patriots a huge a bounce, but Geno Smith and Lockett and Metcalf are just Metcalf and Lockett are just two prominent receivers. You can't guard them both. Somebody is going to break out. And Geno is effective enough to run the ball as well as throw the ball. And Jacoby Brissett's no slouch either. So I'm not doubting the Patriots at all. I ain't pushing back on the 3.5, but I'm still going with Seattle winning in New England. The Giants head down to take on the Commanders. Right now, the line's 1.5. That's that's discredit to Washington. The way they kind of handle Tampa Bay, they're going to put up more points than the Giants. The Giants look awful against the Vikings. Daniel Jones is, I don't think he could be a starting quarterback in the UFL right now. I mean, that's how bad he was. Daniels is just too much of a dual threat quarterback to really worry about. And I'm going Commanders. It's definitely going to be more than a point and a half. Chargers, we head over to Charlotte to take on the Panthers. And Bryce Young also looked really bad last week as well. He's not going to fare much better with Bosa and Mack going after him. Chargers are favored by 6.5. I like it. I'm also going with the Chargers. Then you got Deshaun Watson and the Browns heading down to Jacksonville. And Deshaun Watson has another lawsuit on his hands. Performance against the Cowboys defense. He's not going to fare much better with Jacksonville's. Remember, they held the Miami offense in check, so I think the Browns defense will have better things against the Jags, but the Jags will definitely, as long as Bigsby doesn't cough up the ball, should do pretty well. The Jags are favored by 3. I like that. Jacksonville. The Raiders will head to Baltimore to take on the Ravens nevermore. And the way Lamar really kind of took the game against the Chiefs on his shoulders, he needs to get Derrick Henry, and the offense needs to get Derrick Henry more involved in the rushing attack. That'll help alleviate a lot of issues. Still, you kind of use the RPO aspect of Lamar Jackson, threaten the Raiders with the legs. So you don't know who's going to run. Is it going to be Henry? Is it going to be Jackson? I don't know. During that, we'll free up Flowers and likely and other possible talents out there for the Ravens. So right now, Baltimore's favored by 9.5. There's no love for the Raiders. I get it. I like the Ravens as well. Rams heading over to State Farm Stadium out there in the Valley of the Sun, the battle of the Arizona Cardinals. And they put up one heck of a showing in Detroit, fell short in overtime. Arizona had an impressive showing themselves in Western New York against the Bills and fell short in regulation. So both teams definitely have high marks to go with the low marks to start the season. And we'll kind of see how things kind of play out. I kind of wrote off Arizona for the season. I still don't think they're going to have a very successful year, but they're going to be more competitive than I thought they would be. Right now, the line has Arizona by 1, and with them going head-to-head, I'll take Arizona at home. This is a coin toss. I wouldn't be surprised if the Rams win in there 1, but I will go with the Cardinals at home. You have the Mile High, and you got the Steelers coming to town to take on the Broncos right now. At the time of this video, Tomlin has not stated who's going to be the starter. Right now, he is focusing on Justin Fields starting. That calf injury for Russell Wilson is playing havoc. You know he wants to start against his former team and take it to him. The problem I have with the Steelers is their offense is inept. They don't have that flair, that flash, the desire to hit that home run ball. Justin Fields gives you more options because he's younger, more athletic than Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson's just an older quarterback, not as agile as he used to be, i.e. the calf muscle injury. And those are just one of those things that are just continuing to nag and nag and nag. I've pulled a calf muscle. It takes a while for that thing to heal. So, yeah, not a pleasant experience. But right now, Pittsburgh's favored by 3 in Denver. And Bo Nix had a great showing up in Seattle. It's that Pittsburgh defense is going to be a huge factor in this game. TJ Watt is going to be a menace for the Broncos. They can find ways to mitigate his effectiveness or get away from him altogether. There's other members of that Steel defense that's going to be, definitely take up the mantle. But like Najee Harris and Pickens can be factors for the Steelers' offense. It's going to be a different thing. Steelers had all those drives, no touchdowns. You can't win the field goals alone, and sooner or later it's going to bite you. I have a feeling this might be it. I am going with Denver at home. It is an uneasy pick, pretty much like the Arizona one. But we're seeing stranger things happen, and We'll just have to see. Now we're starting off with Kansas City hosting Cincinnati. Now, this game, too, I had Kansas City kind of losing the first 2 games of the season. Putting everyone going, are they done? I'm like, no, they're going to make it. But the way Cincinnati performed against the Patriots, they don't stand a chance with the Chiefs. The Chiefs is just, right now, they got better. I don't know how you get better. That team last year wasn't the best Chiefs team ever, but then they got hot at the right time frame, and that's all that mattered. Kelsey was funky hairdo. Pacquiao picking up where he left off. Rice had an excellent game as well. They had that rookie that was just, you gave him the ball and he was gone. He was just a second coming of Tyrek Hill in Kansas City. So the defense looked pretty good as well against Baltimore. Cincinnati offense looked horrible last week. Maybe they can work out some of the kinks because Jamar Chase definitely looked a lame duck last week because of that time not really practicing. So, yeah, this is going to be a huge factor in this game. I think Cincinnati's got too much rust right now. Kansas City's favored by 6. A bit much for my blood, but I'll stick with it, and I'm also going with the Chiefs to win at home. Now you have that Sunday night game on NBC where the Bears will head down to H-Town, take on the Texans. The Bears' offense, not quite there yet, but the defense definitely came up when it had to against Tennessee. The special teams play came up when it had to against Tennessee. They're the reasons why the Bears won. Remember, football is a team sport. Houston struggled a little bit defensively in containing the Colts. But offensively, they had their numbers. I mean, like I said, when you have Mixon and Diggs as your key acquisitions in the offseason, this team got a whole lot better. The Bears' defense is good against the run. Can they contain Mixon? Colts couldn't. I think the Bears will do a better job in containing Mixon. He probably still have a very productive day, probably close to 75 yards and a touchdown. C.J. Stroud is going to still have his numbers as well, probably the same as it was last week. But can Caleb Williams hit that next gear? He was in first gear the entire game against Tennessee. He needs to at least hit second and third gear. I think Houston will give him the opportunity. Chicago should put up more points. But at the end of the day, I do believe Houston is a better team than Chicago. I'm a Bears fan. I can say that. Houston's favored by 6. Kind of like that as well. I am going with the Texans. And then Monday night, you have the Battle of the Birds. You have Kirk Cousins will take his Falcons into Philly to take on Jalen Hurts and the Eagles. Which bird is going to do better? That Falcons offense looked out of sync. There's just nothing there. I mean, it's the Atlanta offense looks similar to Philly's because there's some key players there with the Falcons and the running game and the receiving game, and they had a quarterback everyone knows. Philly's the exact same way. So the defense is going to play a huge factor. Now, Atlanta's defense was pretty good. They didn't allow any touchdowns, and Jalen Hurts likes to turn over the ball. If Jalen Hurts can limit those mistakes and rely on Saquon to do his thing once again, Philly should win. Problem is, Jalen Hurts is going to continue to throw interceptions. That's just his MO right now. Atlanta needs to capitalize on those. That's one thing they didn't do last week, was capitalize on opportunities. I don't think they'll have much of success here. However, the line right now is 6.5 in favor of Philly. I would pick Atlanta for the points because I think it's going to be a lot closer than what they really want. I don't think Philly is quite where they need to be. I have a feeling towards the end of the season, a lot of things should get cleaned up. Beginning of seasons where you're going to see a lot of the mistakes and things that need to be fixed. But I do think Philadelphia still end up winning. I think it's going to be more like 3 points, not 6 or 7. But I am taking Philadelphia to win at home. Well, that was week 2. Let's see if I can try to get 10 wins again. I think it's a good plateau for me. I'll probably have a few weeks here and there where I'll get a better results, but I think getting 10 wins is nice. Nice even number. I mean, if you're 10-6 in the season, which no longer the case anymore, you're doing pretty good. But let me know, which pick do you think I got completely wrong? Which one did I really overstretch? I mean, Arizona and Denver ones I think are a bit of a stretch. I will admit to those. Let's mix it up. Which game last week did you enjoy watching? I only watched, I think, a handful of them. Things like the Dallas, Kansas City, Houston, Indianapolis, Dallas, Cleveland, L.A., Detroit, and the Jets and 49ers. All the games I was able to watch. But let me know which games you enjoyed last week. Which one surprised you the most last week? And I think for me that was that New England win in Cincinnati. Of course, which game you look forward to this week. Are you optimistic about your team or your choice to win the Super Bowl? Let's mix up the comments below. Let's keep it within football realms and generate that buzz between your favorite team and the rest of the league. A little friendly banter never hurts anything. It really helps boost algorithm, really gets this video out to the masses. Another thing you can do, especially here at the end, hit that thumbs up, especially like what I do. It helps me a lot. Another thing you can do is also subscribe. Not many of you subscribe. Doesn't cost you a dime. Those of you subscribe, I thank you very much for doing so. You really help this channel grow, and it's just with your support, I continue to grow in this aspect. Best way you can do it, subscribe, hit that subscribe button, click that bell icon, turn notifications so next time I post any more content on my channel. And I'll see you next time on Chat Sports Talk.